Hi, Stuart Barn here, and this is tip 25 in this series of guitar tips. Tip 25 is play bar chords perfectly. What I mean by that is, if we're supposed to be playing a G minor, check that it really is a G minor. There are 6 notes here. Now, quite often when I see people in the early days of playing, the G string is missing. Now, if that string is missing, that's not a G minor. That's a G power chord or a G5. It's understandable how this happens because the G string is on the finger that's barring, and barring is difficult in the beginning. It takes a bit of time to build up the strength. But also, the G string is pretty much in the middle between the knuckles, so it's in the sort of the soft bit of the finger. So, there are 2 ways to correct that. One is simply to build up strength and press harder. That's probably the best long-term way, and that's pretty inevitable as long as you keep an eye on it. Or you can slightly adjust your finger so that this knuckle is slightly more on the G string. I've heard some people claim that you shouldn't do that. I can't see why. A small movement of a few millimeters of the first finger in this bar chord, I can't see any negative effects of that. So my advice would be to include that as part of your remedy for this. Same thing applies with, say, this chord, which is D. There are 5 strings that are all supposed to be there. Is this one here when you do it? This is again another weak spot that I sometimes see people muting it, so, or something like that. And it's nearly always because of this 3rd finger touching the underneath of the string. Now, not everybody's fingers bend like that as much as everyone else's. Some people's are fairly flat, some people's bend a long way. Whatever the flexibility of your fingers, there's almost certainly a way for you to do this and still have this note present. You may just have to adjust the angle of your hand a little bit. In the worst case scenario, you could use your little finger. If your finger absolutely will not bend at all and you can't get over this E string, then that would do. But I wouldn't recommend that unless you absolutely have to. For most people, this is perfectly doable. The worst outcome is to actually include fret 7 here. The reason being that that's now no longer a D, that's a D6. Which is a different sound not altogether, it's a slightly different sound, it's not the same chord. So, that is what I mean by play bar chords perfectly. Be critical, check whether all the strings that you're supposed to be playing really are sounding clear. I hope you found that tip helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, click subscribe, and I shall send you more in the future. See you in the next video.